much as he loved Minneapolis. Because there's one thing I'm positive I know about Prince. After knowing him in forever alternating cycles of greater, lesser, and sometimes not at all friendship over the final 31 years of his life until our final peculiar phone conversation 3 weeks before he died, his greatest and perhaps only fear was dying alone. Prince didn't care if the end came in a Chanhassen, Minnesota elevator, inside a building where he owned all the buttons, or in an opulent prime minister's suite in a Paris hotel, inevitably and idiotically redecorated for his arrival by a clueless management apparently determined to recreate for his pleasure Liberace's living room. He just didn't want to die alone. Yet he always accepted what was coming and was trying to prepare, he told me as far back as 1985. Of course, the questions must be asked whenever someone says anything about what Prince actually said or thought or did. How do you know? Why would he tell you? Did you see that? Well, personally, on this and several other topics, in a wide array of settings, yes, I witnessed this and saw that. Once upon a time, in what feels like a previous lifetime, I wrote a gaggle of articles and interviews for Rolling Stone and then the New York Times with Prince and about Prince. His thoughts, worlds, bands, and best friends of the moment. What he wore on his head and the height of the heels on his feet. I still am not sure why he chose me to occupy one compartment in his life. The most compartmentalized life I've ever seen. Trapped inside the loneliest soul I've ever met. Few of his real friends knew who each other were, or even if they themselves were real friends. He didn't like many people, and I still have no real idea why he abided me. And then, in the 1990s, I quit. I didn't quit Prince. I just quit writing about him or hanging around his world. I still don't know if I was brave or an idiot to walk away from the only real scoop rock and roll had to offer in those days. I was still young enough to believe it was worth trying to be a real writer, writing real things, or at least running away to join other circuses besides entertainment journalism, where life was the proverbial high school with money, and the entire world reduced to the simple binary equation of that's cool or that's not cool. If I didn't quit, I knew way back, I would never be taken seriously as anything more than Prince's Bobo, a slur in the baseball world denoting a professional sycophant to a superstar player. And rock and roll, I figured, the equivalent Bobo might be, say, the only reporter someone like Prince would give interviews to, or hang around with, or divulge the inner meaning of his heels. I don't wear 'em 'cause I'm short, the 5'2" musician told me in 1985. I wear 'em 'cause the women like 'em. These are the first words I've written about Prince since back in the day. Until now, I've kept a promise to myself that I wouldn't write about him anymore. In the years after the interviews, he asked me to write a couple of things with him, and I assented. The project sounded so ridiculous, I figured, no one would believe they existed anyway. In the 90s, I wrote the libretto to a rock opera called The Dawn, retitled for direct-to-video release in 1994 as 3 Chains of Gold. Prince had released the experimental set of narratively interconnected videos on the marketplace as a present to Maite, the first of his 2 ex-wives. For his story, he gave me a couple of details of what he wanted. A setting in the desert and a princess being courted Valentino style by an inscrutable, magical, Prince. He also gave me the indescribable experience of catching a true genius in the act of being a genius. Will you pay me? I asked. If he did, I knew I'd be set free if I ever wanted to sell out.